Hey, everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, September the 11th, 2023, with the moon in outgoing dynamic Leo. Leo can be very playful, wants to bring out your inner child, can trigger a lot of creative desires, especially when that moon once a month will cross over loving creative Venus. That moon is our emotional needs. When it crosses over Venus, which is around from about 12 to 2 p.m. Pacific time, there's an emotional need generally for most people for more peace and harmony, for really wanting to express yourself more creatively. Can be a romantic time, especially Leo energy is romantic in itself, and Venus is that planet of love and attachment. Later in the afternoon on Monday, the moon, these emotional needs, will be in a hard angle to expansive Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is one of the great benefic planets. The other one is Venus. But when the moon is at a hard angle to Jupiter, you might be overindulging, expecting too much, spending too much. Now, on Tuesday, the moon continues in Leo, outgoing Leo, but it's going to go void of course at 8:06 a.m. Pacific time till 10:18 p.m. Pacific time. So for most of you, the entire day, almost the entire day, that moon that sets the public tone will be void of course. And again, as I talk about every week, the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. When the moon is no longer making aspects to other planets, this is what we call the void period. And because it's not making any active contacts with other planets, the energy is flat. So you certainly wouldn't want to start any major important new projects with a moon void, of course, but also Mercury is winding down and really intensifying in its retrograde period. Don't want to make important decisions with Mercury in retrograde, and you don't want to make important decisions several days prior to a new moon. So this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, with the void, of course, with Mercury in retrograde right before the new moon, is best for reflection, for introspection, for like sitting back and looking at the big picture. Now, Tuesday evening, Pacific time, 10:18 p.m., the moon leaves fiery Leo and goes into more sensible, practical Virgo. On Wednesday, as the moon continues in Virgo, the moon goes through each sign for 2.5 days. It's going to be crossing over rational Mercury, but Mercury will be retrograde. This will be happening mid-afternoon Pacific time. Now, that can be good for expressing your feelings, for any creative expression. However, the Mercury is retrograde and about ready to appear to stop on Thursday, which is called stationary. So our mental faculties will be so much more intensified. But with that moon in crossing Mercury, with the retrograde Mercury mid-afternoon Wednesday, this can be a really favorable time to really reflect on where you might have gotten off track in relationships. So on Thursday, we now have the new moon. When the moon in Virgo finally catches up to the sun in Virgo, and this new moon, all new moons start a whole new desire, new intentions. This new moon is going to be in harmony with innovative, progressive Uranus. This can bring in exciting new ideas over the next several weeks. Certainly a strong desire for personal freedoms. Usually, this is an excellent new moon to get out of any old stuck routine, shake things up, move into new directions, especially with all these retrograde planets, a really perfect time to do to really reset where your life is going. Plus on Thursday, with that new moon just beginning to unfold, Mercury, discerning communication Mercury, is stationary. In other words, you look through a high-powered telescope, doesn't look like it's going backwards at all, no matter how slowly, and it's not yet starting to move forwards. So when any planet is changing directions from retrograde to direct, that right before it changes directions, it appears to not be moving at all. It's an optical illusion, but the energy of whatever planet is stationary is really intensified. But it's happening on Thursday with a new moon. Now, the new moon in Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and the new moon in Virgo is in harmony with progressive, innovative Uranus, really helping us wake up, get out of our ruts, try all new things. So on Friday, the 15th, the new moon, as it's starting to move forwards with Mercury now leaving retrograde, very slowly starting to move direct. But the moon in Virgo will be void of course, 6:49 a.m. Pacific time to 10:45 a.m. It's a short time, but at 10:45 a.m. Pacific time, the moon goes into Libra. The Libra, that emotional tone, is more sociable. It's more harmonious, seeking more win-win situations. And that Mercury is very slowly starting to move forwards. Now, our mental faculties are starting to move in the right direction, but when it goes from a standstill on Thursday and it then feels like and looks like it's only moving so slowly on Friday, our mental faculties are still going to be feeling a bit sluggish. You may also not be ready to really trust where you want your goals and expectations to go. Now, the sun will be exactly in a tight, harmonious trine to Uranus. So from Thursday, especially Friday, with Mercury going direct, the sun trining Uranus, there's a lot of this optimism and excitement in life to move forwards. On Saturday, the 16th, with the moon in fair-minded Libra, it's going to cross over in patient Mars from 12 to 2 p.m. Pacific time. Now, the energy is starting to move forwards in a more positive direction, but that moon Mars could be a bit argumentative, but certainly maybe it's triggering a lot of impatientness to let's get on. And by late afternoon, now that moon in harmonious Libra, sociable Libra, will be in harmony with Venus. Venus is the ruler of Libra. Venus is a planet of harmony and peace and relationships. So it's Saturday, going into the late afternoon Pacific time, later in the evening for a lot of people in other time zones. This is really favorable for socializing. And Venus is already direct from September to the 3rd. Now Mercury is direct and the moon is in sociable Libra. You're more open to developing a new relationship if this is what you're looking for, especially as Venus, that planet of desire, will be in a hard angle with Jupiter, expansive Jupiter. So it's a day with a smile on your face in, spending too much money, overindulgence, eating too much, drinking too much, but it is a Saturday, and sociable moon in Libra in harmony with relational Venus going into Saturday evening, and the Venus itself in a hard angle to Jupiter. Maybe many of you want to just start celebrating and getting back out there and enjoying life. On Sunday, the 17th, that moon will be in a stressful angle to Pluto around 7 p.m. Now, that could start bringing in some emotional intensities and passions. But then the moon goes void, of course, at 6:06 p.m. Pacific time to 9:58 p.m. Pacific time. Again, this is best for reflection, not starting anything new. And then at 9:58 p.m., the moon goes into Scorpio as it starts the new work week on Monday, even into Tuesday. And that Scorpio energy brings more of this intensity, this focused drive. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.